Welcome to RetroFixer! Today we are going to see how to cook a Commodore 64 GS, including all the necessary ingredients. Let's hear the theme song!
Eccoci tornati ragazzi.
Here we go again, guys! Let's see, this is a Commodore 64 GS, a really rare and expensive computer. It was produced in 1990 only in Europe and it was a commercial failure.
Grande successo, diciamo che se lo sono un po' cercati.
Releasing in this specific time frame when many other better home console were on the market was like committing a company suicide.
Visto che poi c'erano console
It was just a Commodore 64 without its keyboard, so many of these unsold units were reconverted back to a Commodore 64.
Che erano molto più funzionali, perché purtroppo molti giochi a quel tempo.
We have also to consider the fact that many games were not working on that GS model because without a keyboard you won't even start.
Il mio intento oggi è quello di trasformare.
My aim today is to convert that classic C64C second series
C, la seconda serie, lo trasformeremo in un Commodore 64
in a C64 GS because the motherboard is exactly the same. The only different thing is the internal ROM. Without a basic software, it requests to directly load a cassette at boot.
L'inserimento di una cartuccia e basta. Per fare tutto, allora.
So, let's our assistant in.
Vedo che hai fatto una bella spesa.
I saw that you did a nice shopping. Really good. That one. This other one. This is in two parts. Now let's see all the passages, all the steps. This one and various and possible. Really good. This one is always useful. Those are the finishes. Okay, we don't need a coupon.
Prima cosa, per costruire.
Now, to cook our C64 GS, we need a C64C, just the PCB board.
Non ci serve tutto intero, ma basterebbe solo la scheda madre del Commodore 64 versione C. Poi
Then we need an EEPROM 27C256. We are going to put a link in the video description. And a 3D printer and the files to print it in two pieces. Also, this will be available in the description. Here we can see a little example. And here you can see a seam that will be glued, grooved and painted to finally build our case. Here you can see an example about its creation. Here you can see just a small part grooved. When you are going to do this, you have to groove everything here, not just the seamed part. So we will need some plaster, some glue, paint and a lot of patience to sandpaper everything.
Oppure la soluzione.
But if you really want the best solution, that one is PCBWAY. In fact, this video is sponsored by them. They realized that case that really seems original. Take a look at the finishes. Really marvelous and very smooth. With this solution you will not need to glue anything. Just two pieces to assemble together. Here you can see the internal part.
Poi, per completare.
Now to complete the work, we just need a pair of small windows to cover the cartridge slot. They will fit that way, and I am going to show you how to print them with a link in the description. And here it is, the detail. As you can see, they are not full filled, just a 10 or 20% filling. But I really don't like that, so I'm going to reprint them. Then for the hinge, we need this kind of small metal wire. It is just 1 millimeter diameter, but you can also use fiberglass, and you have to put this wire in this position, those pre-made holes. Then if you want, you can fix it with some glue. And in the end, we need 2 springs to put there to allow the small windows to open and to be closed. To complete the work, as icing on the cake, we have the escutcheon that will be positioned in that way.
E infine,
and also a cool graphic to be sticked over. Just like the original one, we can also choose which one we prefer.
Possiamo scegliere addirittura quale logo inserire, poi vediamo quale mettere.
Now let's see how to compose everything. See you soon!
Bene ragazzi, vediamo.
Let's see the differences. At the bottom of the screen you can see the normal C64C PCB, while the upper one is the C64GS modified by us. The boards are exactly the same, excepting for some small differences. We missed the floppy and the cassette connector.
I floppy che qui non serviranno, tutta la parte di gestione della cassetta.
The keyboard connector and the correspective resistors, and others really small changes. The biggest part is the modification of the cartridge slot. It needs to be turned 19 degrees up. And the last thing is the ROM that must be changed. You have to substitute the original one with the BASIC and kernel with the C64GS specific ROM. Those are all the differences between the two PCB boards.
Tutte le modifiche per poter realizzare il nostro GS. Questa modifica.
Also on the upper one you can see a smaller resistor on the SID. It is useful to pull up the SID digital audio signal, because in some games you have some sampled voices sounding differently between the original SID and the newer one of the C64GS SID. The audio is lower down, so with this little modification we can put it back to the original sound. You are going to see it in the description. Also, do not forget that you can see everything on the retrofixer.it site.
Sia sull'articolo su Retrofix che poi anche in descrizione. Mettendo comunque questa resistenza abbiamo l'audio, diciamo, riusciamo ad alzarlo.
This one is the 22 plus 22 pins connector. You need to solder it upside.
Questo andrà messo qua. E per dissaldare,
to the solder it, remember that some units can be glued. You can find a little bit of glue between the PCB and the connector. So even if you remove the soldering, you can see some resistance, and this is due to that glue that must be removed. If you want with hot air. Also remember to remove the metallic tabs near the edge.
Scollare e tirar via.
In this specific unit, the connector is not glued to the PCB, so it will be easier to be removed. Just move it a little bit and you can also use some hot air. Now we are there, it's almost done. Perfect. Connector removed. Now let's modify the kernel. We can also find some oxidized tin, and if you try to force it, we can damage the PCB lines. To avoid this, we can use hot air to make it hot and easier to be removed. Here it is, guys, our C64GS. We just missed the ROM. So let's cook it.
Burn, burn, burn!
Great! Here it is, the mask. It is missing the LED hole that we are going to make just now. So the first part is ready. Okay, it's all done. We just missed the small windows. That way, with this small wire, as you already seen. Just take precise measurements. Be careful. When you cut the wire, the tip can be a little bit pressed. So you firstly need to round it up a little bit. Then you fit in the springs you can find on AliExpress. Now we need to glue the upper part, and that's it. We fit in a great LED. Here it is, our upper part. Select a quite long cable. Perfect. We can see the main screen asking us to put in a cartridge when the power is off. We insert a cartridge made for C64GS, so you don't need to press any button. Let it in and power on. Here it is. Let's try with a 2-button joystick. We can select everything with the joystick because we do not have a keyboard. And let's go! Our C64GS is ready! Retrofix friends, here they are the two consoles, the original one and the cooked one, with the great mirror console side. There are really small differences, such as the color and really small things. But we are really near to perfection. A really good job for a really cool console. And you can replicate it for very few money. If you try to buy one now, you are going to see that the prices are really expensive. If you find it boxed, you are going to lose all your money. So, let's do it, also thanks to PCBWAY. They are the ones behind this really good job here. You can visit their site and try some of their jobs. The quality they offer is really high, almost impossible to obtain with the house-made 3D printers. We are really satisfied with their job. It seemed to be really original.
Bene ragazzi,
that's all folks.
Solito è tutto.
Please subscribe to the channel.
Le prossime uscite.
This good job deserves a thumb up. See you soon for our next job. Bye bye fixers.
Alla prossima fixer.
Ciao fixer.